Hey, I give me a second here. All right, and I'm going to try something brand new. Oh, right on. So, grounding. Is it a state or is it an act? And I chose this picture because I think we all think of grounding as going out and put our feet on it. And yes, even if you do that, there is some sort of discharge between your feet and the earth. However, I think that the idea is somewhat incorrect, and I'll tell you why. If you have to go out and ground on a regular basis, all that means is that your nervous system is dysregulated as a default. So here's the image I'm going to use, and I use this one for a reason. I am sitting in a house. Let's say you're sitting in your house. When you're sitting in your house is grounded, right? I got to turn that music down, I can tell. I wondered what was bothering me. I even got a little applause there. Did you notice that? Anyway, we're sitting in our houses, and here comes a storm. Now, this is somewhat of a metaphor. And the storm, I'll fill it in as I go, could be any energetic change. But for our practical intents and purposes, it's an electrical storm, thunderstorm, call it what you will. And the energy is beginning to build. We might sense that there's a storm approaching. It's the same way with people. I'm sure we've all been there. And suddenly, crack, there's a bolt of lightning. Now, having lived in the Midwest, I'm familiar with these. Here, they don't happen that much, not on the island. Crack, there's the lightning. Then you have all the thunder that rolls behind it, depending on how close you were. When I was working on the farm in Minnesota, if it was close enough, your hair started to stand up, and that meant get out of Dodge, move somewhere, get self-covered and protected. And I felt those. So I know what it's like to be close. And the crack and the blinding light comes first, which you know is going to hurt your ears. So I'd say you close your eyes, but it's past the fact. But you cover your ears because it's probably going to be loud and hopefully doesn't hit anything near you, which could be even louder. But anyway, that lightning is seeking ground. Yes, indeed, it is, because that's where it goes. It finds something. Now, if I have a lightning rod on my house, what ends up happening is if it's close enough, that lightning rod will find the house. And then it will travel through the electric system because it's looking for a particular path. If it does not find it, it will go to every outlet in the house and then find everything connect. So it's looking for a way out. If it doesn't find it, it will come to the outlet. To the outlet, it will then go into my 6-way, let's say, and then it will go to the computer, to the lights, to whatever you have, your stereo. If your vacuum cleaner is plugged in and you're using it, it will go there, still looking for a place to go out. But that's what it's doing. And on the way through all this stuff, it fries them. If you have a grounding pathway, guess where it goes? Now, if you want to know what that looks like, go out to the outside of your house, and I don't think I have this here. Give me just a little more time. and my love will surely grow. Nope, not here. Go out to the side of your house where the meter is and look at the ground. And you will find, more than likely, if you don't, call an electrician right away. You will find a piece of metal sticking up about this far, a piece of bare wire that comes out of the meter and is clamped to it. That's your grounding rod. All right. Which means that your house is grounded all the time. That is what that means. So when lightning hits the house, it's meant to go into that rod and into the earth. Now, how often do you pull that rod out of the ground? If you didn't know it was there, you don't. So you have, your house is in a state of groundedness. Now, if you were to sit outside and pull that thing out and put it in, put it out and put it in, take it out, put it in, that would be an act of grounding. But you don't do that, do you? The need to do that means that the house is unprotected otherwise. Your nervous system is unprotected otherwise. When you make groundedness a state of being, you don't need to ground yourself. You are grounded. Now, just so you know, this act of grounding is like using I think they call these 12 pennies, or maybe even bit smaller, like a 10 penny, but they're huge. And I've had to drive those before. And nope. And sometimes they're called joist nails because they're so long. They're designed to go through the top of the 2x4, through the block, and into the plate, the top plate of the wall, to hold your joist, to hold your roof up. They're really difficult. And now they make big long screws that do the same thing. Anyway, even if you had one that size connected to your box, and you had that in the ground, you want a couple inches up above it, what do you think the stability of that is? That grounding rod that's outside your house, that's connected to your, can't think of the word, so I'm losing it. But anyway, what's connected to your meter, you know how long that rod is? Oh, so like 8 foot long, 3/4 inch copper. And getting those into the ground is not exactly a fun occasion. They make a particular tool, and you might have used one of these if you've ever driven a fence post, a metal one. But it's a little round canister. It's hollow. It's empty. So it's got a metal top, and it's got 2 handles. Dank! I call it a wanger because that's the sound it makes. Whang! Whang! Okay? So you use that to drive this post down far enough for you to take, because it's 8 feet tall, about 3/4 of an inch round, and then you can start using a maul or your shoulders, they're going to be hurting units, let me tell you. But that's how that 8 feet, well, you leave up 10 inches or so, that's how that gets buried. That doesn't ever come out. That stays there. Sell the house, doesn't matter, stays with the house. Now, if you heal your trauma properly, that is the kind of grounding that becomes a state of being, so that when the thunderstorms of life come along, and suddenly there's a clap of lightning and thunder and lots of noise, it's just noise, all right? And somebody might, we think of that, and usually that's for us, is that's some kind of emotional thing or cognitive thing. It might be physical violence. All right. And there's ways to deal with that. And that's partly it is not, don't be there. But when you get into these storms, if your house is grounded, if your nervous system is grounded, you don't have to worry about the lightning rod. You don't have to worry about the lightning. The thunder's not going to hurt you. That's just the sound that the lightning creates because it breaks the sound barrier. That's how fast it's moving. But it's not like an explosion, which has a concussive wave that you would concern yourself with. It's crack, and the lightning bolt is far more serious. Now that is but if you're sitting outside and you're holding this little 15-penny nail in your hand, and then you have to jam it in the dirt, which one do you think is better for you? That's right. I think you can figure that out. And the reason that's valid is because when you heal, your nervous system creates capacity to handle this kind of stuff. And I'd show you all the pictures and stuff like that. I'm just giving you the basics right here, because what that ends up doing is your nervous system creates space, in a sense. If you heal with good tools, you're going to create the emotional space. You're going to create the cognitive space. And let's call it the threshold of stress. It's like somebody who's constantly jumpy. You know how that threshold is like yay big, just so that can't yay big. Now, and I've shown the this one I can pull up. There it is. So if you want to zoom in on this, I'm hoping this is working for you. Otherwise, so that bottom squiggly line, that's your threshold, even if it's not squiggly. But kind of that can be somewhat accurate. Just because you heal does not mean you get rid of the stress response. You'll still have it, but you see that the social engagement zone down there, and then the next one up is fight or flight. Let's take that line between them and raise it up. That's called raising the threshold. It will take you that much more to get to the threshold. In other words, that becomes a real emergency. A real emergency for you to actually breach. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I can't get back to it at the moment, and I'm not going to worry about it. That means it takes that much more to actually stress you out. You'll be able to handle these thunderstorms of life because it's got to be tornado level before it gets to your nervous system. And that's not such a bad thing, is it? It's actually quite, once you start living in it, it is a very reassuring place to be. I mean, when I talk about the peace of life, that's what I mean. Things that other people stress out about, not you. And the reason being is because you're not bothered by it. It's not an emergency. It's an issue. It might be somebody else's issue and somebody else's emergency, but that's a perception thing. But having been a firefighter, I know emergencies. When you're trained in tactical matters and you're dealing with handguns and knives and stuff like that, that's an emergency. That is a very real, very right now emergency. And you have to respond properly to survive it, which is just a very, very condensed version of what we do in firefighting, what we did. And when you have a nervous system that can properly identify emergencies, then your nervous system will know whether it needs to be in fight, flight, or not. And that might not mean much, just like crossing over into the pink zone and being down at the bottom anyway. I don't go racing up to the top, and I don't go racing into freeze, things like that. It's got to be really serious before I'm going to get there. Something that would overwhelm my training as well as my own capacity and resilience. Now, resilience means my ability to bounce back. So, all right, it's like a fighter in a fight, wham, 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 couple of shots, and whoa, down he goes. Because yeah, they did kind of hurt, and you were trying to get out of the way, and in the process of doing that, you tripped yourself and down you went. So they give you a standing 8 count, but then you get back up and you go, okay, I know this guy can hit really hard. What am I going to do about it? That's resilience. And I've often used it anyway. When you are grounded like that, it takes more than just somebody, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What? Usually the tone will indicate, are you kidding me? Anyway, I say groundedness is a state. Does that mean I don't like being out? I love being outside. I think part of that is because being outside draws me closer to where I actually came from. If we want to look at the history of evolution, where mankind emerged, all that kind of stuff, outside there is closer to reality than inside here. This is just warmer, drier. Yay, I like that. But when I'm outside, I'm in my natural environment. That's where I came from. And that has this sense of just, I feel like it's a hug. And it has, so, okay, let's, a hug. How does that make us feel? Doesn't that make us feel good? That's to be embraced is such a good feeling. And that's what being grounded feels like. So when I go outside, it just increases that a wee bit. It adds that little embrace for the day. And if you haven't embraced for a while, you might be a little rough around the edges, a little tacky, ticky, sticky. So I think being grounded is a state of being. If you are constantly having to ground, that means your nervous system is dysregulated, and it can learn how to be grounded. That's what I teach people. But know that you could be grounded all the time. You can have that big 8-foot pole down on the ground, and it's wired to your own meter. That meter is your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, which also is tied together with your central nervous system. But in any event, I want you to know that and hear that. And if you have questions about that, right there is my email address. And up there is my website. And up there is that QR code. Scan that. I think that goes to my website. It should anyway. It's new stuff here on StreamYard. Anyway, have yourselves a great weekend, because I probably won't see any of you until then. And hey, Happy New Year. Bye.